you wise men, and give ear to me, you who know. For the ear tests the words as the palate tests food. Let us choose what is right. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am in the right, and God has taken away my right. In spite of my right, I am counted as a liar. My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. What man is like Job, who drinks up scoffing like water, who travels in company with evildoers and walks with wicked men? For he has said, it profits man nothing that he should take delight in the Lord and in God. Therefore hear me, you men of understanding. Far be it for God that he should do wickedness, from the Almighty that he should do wrong. For according to the work of men, he will repay him, and according to his ways, he will make it befall him. Ah, yes, reaping and sowing. Of a truth, God will not do wickedly, and the Almighty will not pervert justice, who gave him charge over the earth and who laid on him the whole world. If he should set his heart to do it and gather to himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. If you have understanding, hear this. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I say. Shall one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn him who is righteous and mighty, who says to a king, worthless one, and to nobles, wicked man, who shows no partiality to princes, nor regards the rich more than the poor, for they are all work of his hands. In a moment they die. At midnight the people are shaken and pass away, and the mighty are taken away by no human hand. For his eyes are on the ways of man, and he sees all his steps. There is no gloom or deep darkness where evildoers may hide themselves. For God has no need to consider man further, that he should go before God in judgment. He shatters the mighty without investigation and sets others in their place. Thus, knowing their works, he overturns them in a night, and they are crushed. He strikes them for their wickedness in a place for all to see, because they have turned aside from following him and have no regard for any of his ways, so that they cause the cry of the poor to come to him. And he heard the cry of the afflicted. When he is quiet, who can condemn? When he is quiet, who can condemn? When he hides his face, who can behold him? Whether it be a nation or a man, that a godless man should not reign, that he should not ensnare his people. For has anyone said to God, I have borne punishment, I will not offend anymore? Teach me what I do not see. If I've done iniquity, I will do it no more. When he then made, will he then make repayment to suit you because you reject it? For you must choose, and not I. Therefore declare what you know. Men of an understanding will say to me, and the wise man who hears me will say, Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without insight. Would that Job were to try to the end, because he answers like a wicked man? For he adds rebellion to his frame. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God. Thank you for your word, Lord. Thank you for your word. I think we got an echo in here. Praise the Lord. Both of your devices are on. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is a beautiful morning. Oh, bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. So good to be back. Honestly, I missed all of you. I realized that God has taken everything out of my life, every single thing, but he's kept you all. So I'm grateful to him, you know. Um, so here, Job 34, verses 1 to 12. Elihu is speaking here. And in this passage, Elihu responds to Job and tries to defend the justice of God. So, anyway, the main theme in this whole, all these verses that Nora read, right, from verses 1 to 37, the main theme in these verses, if you see, um, God is righteous. He's a righteous God. He's just and he's incapable of doing wrong, meaning he is only capable of doing what is right. So Elihu is arguing that even if Job is suffering deeply, Job must not speak as though God is unfair or wicked. And we can be in those places. We can. We can. There was a statement that I occurred that I said when everything went south with all these job search and all of that. I said, God probably doesn't really love me. But he reminds us every single day that he does. And we can become those people when we don't have those answers that we think are right. Until one time he had to come and tell, oh, I'm trying to protect you. There was, I think, one of the devotionals where it spoke about God's protection when he tries to prevent us from being in a certain place. Now that I think of it, I was like, Lord, you switched me from teaching and you switched me from that was my best part. I loved it. It was like serving you. It was serving you. And from there you brought one person and then you told my husband and I obeyed them. I listened to them. And then you moved me into another field. And you look at my resume that there's so many multiple places I have been in multiple enterprise and industries that people get confused. Where do we put this woman? And I started to remove all my certifications. I started to remove all these extra masters and all of that I have, and just put a basic bachelor's degree just to get a job. And still, it wouldn't work. And we can be in those places. That I'm trying to say is we can try all we want, but if you are someone who God loves and He's protecting you from some situation, honestly, I don't think I would have been a good businesswoman because I can't lie. I don't have a poker face. I tell things as how it is. So in business, you need to know all of that and do all of that. I don't think I would have made anything better, but I don't know whether I was good or not good. The Lord knows what is best for us. And so we can become the whole theme in this particular chapter is the main theme is God is righteous. He is just and he's capable of doing only what is right. So verses 1 to 4, he kind of Elihu calls the wise and understanding to listen and judge his words. And he says, listen, let us listen carefully. So there are certain spiritual matters that we need to not judge it emotionally. Oh, God doesn't love me, should not be emotionally judged, but it should be judged with wisdom and with discernment. So Elihu is telling, please don't just sympathize for Job, but try to look at the truth in this instead of accusing him. So, a takeaway for us or application for us with these verses 1 to 4 is that we should test words carefully, especially when you are discussing who God is and what God is doing to us. God hates us. God is doing something terrible for us. He is just doesn't like us. He's an angry God. Even though our pain can be real, truth matters in that situation. What is God trying to do? What is God trying to change? What is God trying to transform? What is He pointing fingers at? That this situation has been going on and on and on, and I have not really become out of it. What is the truth? Verse 5, for Job has said, I am righteous, but God has taken away my justice. So you see, Job is complaining here. In these last 9 months, there has been losses in my life, but there's joy unspeakable and full of glory. Loss of a job, loss of relationship, loss of, inheritance, loss of what belongs to you has been snatched away. And those things are hard. It's a hard place to be.
But it's not only what he went through, it's what others are putting him through as well.
Correct.
Elihu says right here, who else, like Job, drinks up scoffing like water?
Correct. So that's what he's going. So I'm going verse by verse so that I can
Oh,
explain. Yeah.
okay.
So Job had said, I am righteous, but God has taken away my justice. So Job is complaining. And there are losses in our lives that we can go through. Loss of people who you thought were very dear, God can just snatch them away. And He might redirect you towards a whole different direction, even when you have not done nothing right, or I mean, you have not done anything wrong. The Lord will still allow. Job believed that he lived uprightly, but God allowed him to suffer as though he were guilty. And that is some of the places we can be in our lives. So it's one thing to cry in our suffering, but it's another to charge God with injustice. We got to be careful. Verse 6, should I lie concerning my right? My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. So he felt deeply misunderstood. In other words, and from his point, he's saying he's wounded without cause. So Elihu here sees that Job is insisting too strongly on his own innocence without questioning God's dealing. So human beings sometimes may be sincere, we may be fully understood or misunderstood, but we need to understand what God is doing. And because our view is so limited and so focused and narrow, we do not understand what God in his completeness is trying to do in our lives. Job 34, 7-9, Elihu says, Job speaks like one who joins with evildoers by saying it profits nothing to delight in God. These are strong words. So Elihu believes Job's statements are dangerous because they sound like the language of the ungodly. What is the use of serving God if this is how life turns out? I'm telling you, 99.9% of the people who have served God, who has been through sufferings, will ask or have asked this question in their lives. And I'm guilty. That is a serious warning. When we have sufferings that go on for a long time, then we start beginning to think there is no benefit in being righteous. There is absolutely, it doesn't matter whether we serve God or not. And God is not being fair. And these are the things that come in our human minds. So Elihu is confronting that attitude in Job. Sometimes these disappointments in our life can turn out to be wrong, a wrong conclusion about who God is. We must guard our hearts and our mouths in our suffering. We must, because we can end up saying things that may not be true about who God is. Job 34, verse 10, far be it from God that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity. So Elihu boldly says, God cannot be wicked. He says, God cannot do evil, and God's nature is perfectly pure. So this is foundational of who God is. He's a standard of justice. So how can he do injustice to us? So when circumstances are confusing, we must anchor ourselves in who God is, not merely in what we see. Verse 11, for he repays man according to his work and makes man find a reward according to his way. So Elihu here emphasizes that there is divine justice. God sees all things and judges rightly. No one escapes his sight. No one is treated with ignorance. In other words, God is governing the earth with morally he's governing it. And his timings are always mysterious and may be mysterious to us. But his judgments are never careless, never careless. So anything that comes immediately as a reward or as a punishment, like you go to a drive-through and you say, I want chicken nuggets, and it's served. Our mentality and mindset is become so fast food mindset, just order it and we get it. But no, immediate visible reward or punishment should not mean anything. It doesn't reveal who God is. The deeper truth is that humans, beings as you and I, do not always understand how God's justice is working in this present moment. Verse 12, it says, surely God will never do wickedly, nor will the Almighty pervert justice. Elihu repeats his point for emphasis' sake. This repetition matters. He wants everyone listening to settle his truth in their hearts that God never twists justice. He never makes a mistake. He does not act corruptly. He never wrongs anyone. And even when we do not understand his ways, we are called to trust his character. I wanted to bring this story of Sarah with Abimelech and Pharaoh. And I want you to I want you to understand how this can be an application with God's justice and how Sarah knew him well. Her everything was totally shaken up. Sometimes we think our husbands are supposed to be our pavilion, or somebody else has to be your pavilion. There are two events that happened in Sarah's life. One was with Pharaoh, the other one was Abimelech. And you understand these two events. In Job's life, it was a long, continuous process. He was going through the sufferings for so much of time. We don't even know the time frame of how he went through. And we don't know how much of time was there between each chapter. It's been almost 8 to 9 months of study ever since we started Job. There's been losses, right? The enemy is so angry. But I'll tell you something. God knows what's happening, and God is allowing what's happening in your life and in my life, and He knows. We have a Redeemer. This Sarah did not know God. She did not have the Holy Spirit. She did not have the Bible. She had no church leader. She had nowhere to turn around. But she was alone with this person called husband, and his name was Abraham, and she traveled with him. In Genesis chapter 12, verses 10 to 20. So when Abraham went to Egypt, he told Sarah to say he was a sister, which is not the full truth, it was half the truth, because he feared of being killed. Being killed meaning not Sarah being killed, he being killed. Think about this man's mentality. Who is he thinking about here? Who is he thinking about? Is he thinking about his wife? He's supposed to be he's supposed to be a person who protects his wife. He's supposed to be the provider. But here, this guy is thinking about himself, that he will get killed. Pharaoh took Sarah into his house, and God saw the injustice that was happening. Sarah did not open her mouth. Think of the state of her mind. What kind of thoughts she would have had when her husband let her down like that? What were the thoughts that she probably was angry, she felt helpless, she felt betrayed? And it was not just one time, he did it twice. What could have gone through Sarah's mind? I'm putting myself in her shoes. She probably was fearful. When Abraham asked her to say that he's my brother, Sarah might have felt a deep fear because she was not fully telling the truth. She was put in a very vulnerable position. She was surrounded by men of the foreign lands. She understood, or maybe did not understand, the situation and the danger immediately. And Abraham here was trying to save his own life by putting this plan, which put her at risk. Some of these questions would have gone through her mind. Will I be taken away from my husband? Will anyone protect me? Why is this happening to me? Will God intervene? She was let go by the person who was supposed to say, till death do us part. Let go, just like that, to save his own life. She might have felt wounded by Abraham. She thought God spoke to Abraham, and she believed him. She left her household and she came out of her household. He was supposed to be her protector. And when fear came, and danger came, he let her be exposed to it. Even though she understood Abraham's fear, it does not remove the position of where she was. Think about it. She may have had this question as to why I should bear the cost of your fear. Or the question that may have gone through her mind may be like, am I being sacrificed for your safety? She probably was confused about the promises of God. She didn't know. She believed this. God spoke to Abraham. He didn't speak to Sarah. She believed whatever her husband said. So she might have been in this place where she could have doubted God's promises. She knew that they both were walking in a covenant. But because of his decision, she was endangered. She may have wrestled with this question. If God called us, why am I in this situation? Or why are we in this situation? Or why is this path of obedience so frightening? Some of us are obeying God, and yet we are in this pain and agony and suffering because of obedience. She was in a very helpless situation. She had little control over her situation. Whether it was in Pharaoh's house or whether it was in Abimelech's house, he did it twice to her. She had little power. She was vulnerable. That helplessness itself, just thinking about it, is so terrifying. She may not have the way to defend or open her mouth in any way, because if she said anything wrong, it could actually pivot her situation with her husband. And that is a situation where God intervenes. And the intervention of God was so powerful, and you and I know that. God protected her. She had walked with Abraham through uncertainties before. She knew, even though she was afraid and she was hurt, there was a crying out to the Lord inside of her, which no one saw except God. Abraham was a man of faith, but he was still a human and he still had fears. Even though we are people who are receiving the promises of God, seeing visions, we can still be capable of failure. She understood that her trust cannot be on Abraham alone. I'm pretty sure that was a lesson God was trying to teach her. And it happened twice. That her trust has to be in God Himself. And that's a hard lesson, but it's a holy lesson. God allows us to see the weakness in our own spouses and children, so that our anchor and trust will be deeply on Him alone and not on human beings. So, how do you see God's justice in the situation? Even when Abraham failed Sarah, God did not ignore her danger. God did not let powerful men have the final word. God stepped in. God persevered her dignity, preserved her dignity and his covenant promise. So, whatever Sarah felt, whether it was fear, whether it was hurt, whether it was confusion, whether it was helplessness, God's justice answered it with protection. It did. And we all know that. And it is written. God's justice protects. God did not allow Sarah to be defiled. God did not let those kings proceed in ignorance without warning. God did not let Abraham's fear destroy the promise. God judged each person according to truth. He came through with Pharaoh, even though he was a heathen. He came through with Abimelech. God values marriage. God values the dignity of a woman. God values the purity of his covenant and his promises and his plan for us. So he just didn't allow Sarah to be abandoned. Sometimes God's justice may be delayed. He sees, he knows, and he intervenes regardless of what you and I think. He is the father to the vulnerable and the helpless. He will judge truthfully. He will protect us. He will protect us. Sarah may have thought I have been exposed. I've been misunderstood. I've been endangered, but God still sees me. When human protection fails, God's justice will not fail. And that's the lesson Elihu was trying to tell Job, that God's justice will not fail. It will be, don't misunderstand his justice. Don't misunderstand his justice. God never twists justice. He never makes mistake. He never acts corruptly. He never wrongs people. He loves every one of us the same. And he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And this is a reminder today from these verses that we studied in Job. You and I, being the daughters of Sarah, don't put your trust in those frail beings. Your children, your spouses are only weaklings. They're only weak people. They have fears and hurts and all of that. They can never protect you. Only the Lord will protect you. Only the Lord's justice will come through. Put your trust in him.